Travis Wayne Goodsill. I was going to do some shopping today, but the blizzard sort of ruined that for me, as I'll have to spend all day tomorrow, I guess, going back and forth to the store, which of course pisses me off because I have to then expose myself to the public for a longer period of time during a viral pandemic. But one of the things that I had to reevaluate in regards to the Mormon Church was the concept of the Sabbath day, and what can or can't be done if there is supposed to be a Sabbath day, and if it's supposed to be in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Having done the research, and then having done church history, I now know that the answer is no. There is no Sabbath day. It's not supposed to be in the church. But let me give you a little background so that those of you who have already got your answer, you can leave. The manner in which it got started, we'll do that rather than going backwards. Under the Egyptians, they're the oldest civilization on Earth, despite a particular archaeologist who has a bias and who wants to get further grants to continue his research so that he doesn't have to get a real job. The Egyptians are the oldest, hands down. And the Egyptians did not have a Sabbath in the sense of a seventh day Sabbath. For the Egyptians, every day was considered sacred, religious, and holy. And the temples were open 24/7 to that end. Pretty much the night time was for sleeping, but every single day of the year there was always some kind of a feast and a festival and rituals and all that. And so how did we get to where we are, where we're debating whether we're supposed to have one day for a Sabbath and what we're supposed to do on it? If you've ever read the Gospels, they have this character named Jesus Christ who is a constant violator of the Sabbath day. And the Jews are pissed at his rebellious, antichrist, apostate nature. As he then throws it back in their face, "Thou hypocrites, whitewashed sepulchres, and loveless." And so, how did it happen? Well, the Babylonians. The Babylonians rose to power just before 600 BCE. They had to conquer the Assyrians, and then they just made a world tour around the Fertile Crescent Well, I'm not sure if it was a fertile crescent by then. I think they wasted the land by that point in time. I'd have to check again, but yeah, they made the journey with their armies into the Assyrian territories to say, hey, we're now the new bosses. You have to give your protection money to us and give tribute regularly, and then expanded their kingdom after conquering all of Assyria's kingdom. And thus we have the captivity of Jerusalem and Judah. And so, if you know what an anachronism is, it's when you place a more modern event into past history where it doesn't belong. And so when you read in Genesis chapter 2, it has a seventh day upon which the Lord rested, and it's called the Sabbath. Well, that comes from Babylon. It did not exist prior to Babylon. So if you try to claim, oh, well, the Bible says that there was a Sabbath day before Babylon, Travis, it's right here. Sorry, you're not going to convince me, because the biblical text was written post-Babylonian captivity because of certain anachronisms such as this one. And if they try to claim that, it's from an older text, no. Unless you can find an older text that doesn't show the anachronism of Babylon's influence. Don't give you a missing document claim if you're not going to present the document and confirm that that's the case. Because Babylon is universally known as starting the 7-day week calendar, being superstitious of the number 7, and calling the 7th day of the work week a day of rest because they're afraid of the number 7. And yet they designed the calendar system to have 7 days in a week. That's all on Babylon. And so, yes, we can see that Babylon has taken over the world. And taken over the religions. But how did it end up being Sunday for Christianity? Because Babylon's 7th day was Saturday, as it became known, because Saturday comes from Saturn, which is Roman. So yes, each civilization renames calendar days and dates and so on and so forth and months. And so Constantine was the one who, after creating a whole new god with a whole new Greek word, homoousios, scholars still to this day are still arguing and debating what homoousios actually means. It doesn't mean anything. He made it up. But he tried to give an order saying the Sabbath day is now being moved to Sunday, sun day, the day of the sun, and so he wanted the Sabbath day to be on the Sunday for that reason, rather than on the father of Jupiter, Saturday. And Christians at first didn't receive it very well. They still clung to the Saturday Sabbath, even in Christianity, believe it or not. And it was over time that eventually you get a pope who sets it up to make it officially on Sunday. But you still have different break-offs of Christianity that do some kind of a celebration on Saturdays, and Catholics, I know, hold Mass throughout the week. So it's not a situation where you can only worship on Sunday. In the majority, well, in some cases. But that's how we got there. And so the Jews, when they determined one day for a Sabbath, as modern technology develops, then they start having debates over what constitutes work. You know, we've got a washer and dryer now. We just stick the clothes in, stick the detergent in, push a button. Is that work? Before washing machines, they had a little scrubber rack, and you took the clothes, put it in a basin of water of some kind, or at a river, and you'd scrub the clothes. And then soap was invented, so you get to use soap to rub on the clothes and rub on the wash grinder. And yeah, it would take quite a while to get clothes clean that way. Then you'd have to hang them up on clotheslines and let them air dry. And so that was definitely work. But with a washing and dryer, is that work? Are we going to get in trouble for that? Back when Daniel Trotter was my friend, he trying to remember the situation. He needed flowers, and was talking to me about it, and as if he were trying to justify it to me. I've had a lot of that experience in the Mormon Church, as other people try to justify doing something to me, as if I'm going to judge them and go, "Oh, you're evil. I'm going to tell. The bishop's going to find out about this." But that's what happens when you assume things of another person, or and it's tough when you don't have the philosophy of asking forgiveness first, rather than asking permission. But it gets funny sometimes. I've had people justify R-rated movie watching. I've had one justify not watching an R-rated movie and upset that she couldn't justify it. She wouldn't let me get a word in to say, "You're okay. Go and watch it." It was her degree. That's what she went to school for, was Amistad. That whole event history, that time in history. And so Steven Spielberg comes out with Amistad, and she knows about it, and she's all excited, and then finds out it's R-rated. And she couldn't come to logically debate herself that it's okay, you know all about it, you've seen worse in class. But nope, she believed that R-rated movies were bad, and therefore she wasn't going to watch them. But the double whammy, R-rated movies on the Sabbath. As we now have even greater technology to stream, or I think there's still DVDs. I hope so. I hope they continue until I get all of the streaming movies replaced with DVDs. But yeah, it's bizarre how people try to justify rather than actually doing research into the subject. Sabbath, or R-rated movies, or Mountain Dew drinking, piercings. And it's interesting, people watch Footloose to justify dancing from the Bible, but I only heard one woman use the Bible of was it Rachel or Rebecca? It was probably both, but she had all sorts of piercings all over her body for her wedding day. And that's all you had to use, women. My personal preference, I'd like a woman straight. It's not morally straight. It's a clean slate. I'm not virgin, but you get the idea that your body is not tagged. Because having learned about tagging from gangs, they purposely tag their women, their slaves. And so when I see a woman with a tattoo, I have to bite my tongue to refrain from asking, who owns you? There was a very cute Mormon girl that I knew when I worked at Blockbuster, who got a tattoo. She wasn't a gang affiliated. She just wanted, a little tiny, I think it was a butterfly, on the small of her back, which is a tramp stamp. I mean, who's going to be watching that but somebody who's behind you? Doing something behind you. And she brought in a lot of business for our store. So I hope she's doing well. I hope she's still married. Hope she's still alive. And so the whole morality, not just the Sabbath day, needs to be reevaluated when you get out of Mormonism. And yes, sexual behavior is one of those moral situations you have to reevaluate. Do you go off the deep end of Perv Avenue? Or do you recognize that there are consequences? And that I've already done that video where I said consequences should be your moral compass, so that if you do something and it turns out bad, don't do that again. And if you knew in the first place that the consequences could be that, why did you do it in the first place? Except for when it comes to sex, all bets are off. We can try to pretend that we're adults. We can try to pretend that we can control ourselves. But when she bats her eyes at you and smiles, I don't know about women, but men are hopeless. We fall in love again. And of course that brings up Willow. And so, yeah, knowing as I do the whole history of the Sabbath, and let's get back on Sabbath focus. And if I remember that every day should be dedicated to morality, not just one day a week, then I have no problem going shopping, watching an R-rated movie, listening to Shout at the Devil, Motley Crue, or Iron Maiden 666, The Number of the Beast. Yeah, it's very easy to know what to do. And Mormons warn with fear, saying, "Oh, you're going to lose the spirit if you violate the Sabbath day." That's the big thing in Mormonism. You've lost the spirit. That's why you went to the R-rated movie. That's why you went shopping on the Sabbath. That's why you drank that Mountain Dew. You're apostate now. Mormons condemn when they themselves are not realizing they're doing exactly what the Pharisees did to Jesus. "Thou hypocrite, whitewash sepulchre." Yeah. Today's people do not understand that cultural upbringing and are more inclined to follow the path of Bart Simpson, who, when a crowd was gathered and someone said, "He who has committed sin, cast the first stone," and so Bart threw the first stone. But yeah, Mormons are very judgmental, and it's because of just believing whatever they are told. And yes, so the Sabbath day, they're told, "Oh, the Sabbath day." Did you know how it got into Mormonism? I haven't told you that part yet. I told you about how a pope designated it, finally. But Sidney Rigdon, remember him? Yeah, he was a Baptist Campbellite. Alexander Campbell's religion specifically, that Campbellite religion. And he had differences of certain doctrines from Alexander, and he also wanted to revise the whole Bible, not just the New Testament, as Alexander Campbell did. And so Sidney Rigdon left and did his own thing in Ohio. And so, if you know, the linguistic science has identified Sidney Rigdon as the major author of the Book of Mormon. Well, how did the Smiths pay him? Nobody asked that. Nobody follows the money. Follow the money, always. You know, Sidney Rigdon's not going to write a book for the Smiths just for free. He's got a life to live. You know, he has a very small congregation with minimal income, but it got him by. But yeah, the Smiths come along and say, "Hey, we're needing someone to write a book for us, and we need him separated from us. We can't pay the original publisher, or they can't give us an advance on it because they already gave an advance on the previous author, and they can't be associated anymore with us because we're afraid for our lives." And so, yeah, what you see is Sidney Rigdon joining in December. Joseph Smith immediately puts him to work on the revision of the Bible. Of all things. Everybody else gets sent on missions. Sidney Rigdon revises the Bible. And Sidney Rigdon becomes the right-hand man of Joseph Smith. Sidney Rigdon now has a larger speaking audience to give sermons. And you'll notice at the end of the Book of Mormon, Sidney Rigdon gets to put in his doctrinal beliefs of needing to be at least 8 years old in order to get baptized as a member, and the sacrament prayers, as well as the Sabbath day, with laying on of hands for authority and blessings. So that was all Sidney. If you don't know that the Smiths were New Israelite Congregationalists, they believed that you had to be an adult and that you had to be approved by the membership before becoming a member. So you can see that Sidney Rigdon got his way on certain issues in order to do the Book of Mormon for them. Smith Sr. never became a member, and that's important to understand, because when you look up the New Israelites, you'll see this spiritual wifery. Polygamy. Yeah, Smith never became a member. And so thus you see in the Book of Mormon 4 times no polygamy. Then you see a chapter in the 1835 Doctrine and Covenants, no polygamy, only monogamy. And section 131 included the part where Joseph Smith was talking to a couple and said that your monogamous marriage in our temples will exalt you. So yes, when was all that removed? The year before Brigham Young died. And it was replaced with section 132. And we're supposed to believe this was by Joseph Smith in the late 1840s. And was it 42? Because if it's 42, I'm going to laugh. '43, the year after. Sidney Rigdon married his 3rd polygamous wife in 1842, had children with her, all in secret, because Joseph did not perform the sealing. He couldn't have. He was on the run from the law because of what Brigham Young had ordered, and Heber also, they were a tag team, ordered Orrin Porter Rockwell to assassinate the governor, William Boggs. And so the extermination order was because of that. It was to cover up a polygamous marriage. So now you know. Alrighty, I think we're done with the Sabbath though.